Greetings, everyone. It is another day of doodling, and sort of the last possible day of just tinkering around for a future project of some kind. So, last couple of videos we've been playing around with the concept of a dragonfly and somebody who became a dragonfly, let's say. So now I just kind of want to see about what the character might look like in different ways. Nothing too complicated. So yes, this type of sketching is kind of fun to do. It's kind of a way of seeing where you want things to be. Now, I figure that it might be an interesting thing that when not using the inner arms, could fold them at the chest. So fold them here. Something like that, anyway. Now on the back, this is where the wings would be attached. So I was thinking a little bit more about what perhaps the origins of this creature could be. And one of them would have been, let's say, 500 or 600 years ago, maybe, an alchemist. So alchemy, for some, would be the search of gold and/or immortality. So that's kind of where I'm at with the character and what I think might be an interesting backstory of some kind. Not really there yet, anyway. So in flight, let's say this sort of like a loincloth or whatever might have a foot pouch. So you'd step into this foot pouch just to sort of keep your feet together. Just an idea. Just an idea. The wings could kind of fold down. And so when you see the queen, or I'm not even sure if this would be a queen, like I said, that has nothing to do with the reproduction of these creatures, but you would see almost just what a dragonfly would look like. Something like that, anyway. Anyway, there's something about the idea of this anyway. I find it kind of interesting. Although I don't know how necessary. Maybe it's a vain thing to want to have a crown. But with creatures that don't really. Well, anyway, I don't know. I'd have to think about, well, why would the other creatures pay attention to this particular human who turned into one of them. I don't know. Maybe there's a chemical sort of thing, like a pheromone or something like that, that she could have developed before she shrank down to their size. I don't know if it's necessary to have a scepter, but maybe the scepter itself would have the pheromone or whatever it is that can summon all the other dragonflies. So, in some way, we'll flesh this out. Again, these are just doodles for sake of doodling. Sort of send this back up a little bit. This is kind of the fun part. It's kind of messy, but it's where you feel like moving a character along. Before you do something a little bit more refined. Here we have all 4 of the arms in use, all 4 of the wings in use. So that's interesting. I do think for fun that she would be very old. I kind of like the idea of that. Maybe spent a great deal of time kind of seeing what humans were doing. It's an idea. So what if she was around at the same time as like Da Vinci? And maybe travel to the Americas with like on the Mayflower. That'd be interesting. If Columbus would be an interesting way to get the character to North America, maybe. I don't know. Make sure that we're aware that these are all arms. do find that interesting. Okay. Let's try a slightly different view of the head. Kind of a top view. From the crown. And then in here, perhaps a little bit of where the hair maybe could have gone or something like that, I don't know. So what do you think so far? If you're drawing along, does this seem kind of interesting? Something interesting about the concept of fairies. Like, where exactly would they come from? It's kind of interesting to think about. Another realm, another dimension of sorts, different timeline. Were they always here? Are they aliens or angels or just neat little stories that people would tell? And if there was ever any real truth to those stories. It's interesting. For some reason, I like the idea of there being kind of I don't know, a bangle kind of up here on the lower part of the upper arm. So if this is the humerus, just above the elbow. I don't know why. That seems interesting to me. So I'm not sure why I think that's an interesting thing. Let's have that arm. Let's finish that hand. Oh, I don't know if this is a view I would have ever seen with one of these creatures before. Interesting. And let's just say we will see part of the tail out this way. They have a pretty long tail. But remember, this is where she also keeps her feet for flight. Something like that, anyway. Last idea, let's say. And then we'll let this just sort of stay in the sketchbook. Let's go with a little bit more like a close-up of the face. And as per usual, I think I'm going to start with the eyes. So I'm not really sure where this character would have originated from. I'm thinking for some reason, maybe Mediterranean, Eastern European, I'm not really sure yet. But let's say picked up a lot of different languages over the years. But I kind of like the idea that perhaps she got to be around Leonardo da Vinci and Christopher Columbus. They would have been around the same time, oddly enough. So, for the story's sake, that seems kind of fun. But alchemy was kind of a thing that a lot of people really thought was going to happen. And, you know, speaking of alchemy and gold, they had no idea at that point why gold should have been so valuable, other than it was sort of difficult to get hold of. But honestly, as far as how metals would go, you would probably get more use out of trying to develop steel. For weapons, I should say. I don't know if the nose would be too big. Or not. As I said, I don't know if she needs to be sinister. She just might look kind of scary, but could be quite lovely. That's all about these teeth, you see. I think that's probably the scary part. It used to be kind of a fun thing to see dragonflies flying around. If you go to a swamp or I don't know, they're really neat. So I apologize in advance if this seems rather spooky. But for fun, we'll say that she's very kind. She just needs to have teeth like this. And maybe, just maybe, she's kind of aware too. But just not vain about it, but, you know, vain enough to wear a crown, I guess. I don't know. But I'm going to think of, you know, something that would make something, I don't know, the reason why the crown, I mean. Like perhaps it's what keeps her at this size, maybe? She is also, as I said, quite old. So yes, let's say that the crown serves a very specific function. And helping to maintain or retain this form I don't know if you've seen any of my other videos at this point. I would have done a little short story just for fun called The Grubby Princess. I'm kind of utilizing the similar kind of crown that's worn by that character for this character. Unrelated. Now, there was a time where one of the most exotic fruits on the planet was a pineapple. Oh, it was rare. It's so rare that very few people would have even known the taste of it. Even if they'd seen one, people used to borrow or rent them for their house parties. And it would show that they had such prestige of sorts to have a pineapple in your home. But people would come by and they'd admire it and and ask if they could smell it. Very few people knew what they tasted like when they saw them. There's a little bit of weird information for you. Now we will give her her hair stylized. Interesting, interesting. We'll have a couple little sprigs of hair sticking out. So that we know, and others might know, if they ever get close enough. That indeed it is made of hair. So I think we're winding down the concept art for this in a moment. I have a buddy chatting at me right now, telling me that I should get some rest. And let's say for fun, she'll ask a question. She may not keep up with all the news. So that's my good buddy Neville there, if you can hear him in the background. He's a funny sort. Pretty funny. This was a cat that at one time was not very vocal at all, and now super vocal. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Cats, by their nature, are not really meant to be vocal unless they're truly wanting to make their presence known, which is kind of what's going on here, I would suspect. Because, you know, they're hunters, and hunters don't really want to make lots of noise. This seems kind of funny. it's strange how, I guess you'd say, how there's certain things that you might do but that you recognize that, if you're questioning something, you might make a comparable face or something. It's just really strange. If you're questioning something or you want to know the question, or an answer to a question, I should say, you kind of shrug your shoulders like this. I don't know, it just seems funny. Oh well, inquiring minds want to know. Put those bangles, as I say, above the elbow there. We'll figure out these ones here. Oops. Make sure you can kind of see what I'm up to. That seems interesting. Having extra arms so that you can express yourself seems like fun. You could play in multiple bands, or multiple instruments in the band, I should say. That would be neat. Play the piano and the guitar at the same time, or a violin. Well, I think that might be it for now. Of course, the wings could go as well, kind of like the way we did this down here. We're down however we wish. Well, I think that's it for this character for now. I do think that one's kind of interesting. All right, folks. Well, thanks for hanging out with me for a little bit. Yeah, so that's sort of the concept of a character, perhaps for a story for another time, of the Dragonfly Queen. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you again in the near future as we work on more fun things together.